It's 1987 in California and across the cosmos. Walk Like an Egyptian was the top song on the Billboard Hot 100 that year. Plus, Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet was the top album, and it's still pretty much a top rock album in my opinion. So in this story, an alien has crash landed on Earth and has to use the radio and all the great music of the 1980s to communicate to his counterpart in order to save the planet and their lives. So does Bumblebee deliver on the action, humor, and robot mayhem that we are familiar with in this Transformers franchise? Or is the best of this movie the music from the 80s? Let's talk about it in this review. The story begins by showing us a war on Cybertron. As we see Bumblebee, Optimus Prime, and the other Transformers battling the Decepticons, it's growing clear that their planet is doomed. So Optimus Prime gives the order for retreat, and all of the Transformers are sent off to find other planets to inhabit. Earth being Bumblebee's destination, and that's where the story begins. I was hooked immediately because I did not expect a gigantic war scene on Cybertron with robots fighting robots to open this film. All of the action looked great, and we finally get to hear what Bumblebee sounds like after more than a decade. Overall, I really enjoyed the movie. The action sequences in it looked great. Plus, the human characters are developed enough to keep me engaged without ever really taking away from what's going on with the Transformers and the Decepticons. Also, the humor in this film felt appropriate. My favorite line of dialogue might have been when they're in the military meeting and John Cena's character points out that the robots that the military is currently working with literally have the word deception in their names. That did get an audible laugh out of me in the theater, and I wanted to high-five the writers for that one particular joke and line of dialogue. And the budding romance or love story that takes place never really becomes a major focal point in this story. It just kind of floats through the whole movie, building out this world to make everything feel more three-dimensional without ever detracting away from the fact that we're watching giant robots from space fighting each other on our planet. So overall, I was really surprised with how well constructed the entire story was. Because we have the story of Bumblebee, which is completely separate from the story of Charlie, who's played by Haley Steinfeld. But because their destinies are intertwined, both of their stories really work. We know that Bumblebee's main priority is to figure out if Earth is inhabitable for the Transformers to come to build up their resistance against the Decepticons. We also know that once the Decepticons find him, his new priority is stopping both of them before they're able to call more Decepticons to the planet to destroy him, everybody on the planet, and the planet itself. We also understand that he is no match for both of these Decepticons at the same time, and we see this because he gets rocked by them more than once in this film. We find out that Charlie's father's died, and we find out that she's still not over the death of her father, and so we go on a journey with her in this story as she finds her new strength and purpose without him. And because Bumblebee and Charlie's destinies are intertwined, it makes sense as to why they have to come together to save the day, and the foundations of why are laid very well early on in this story. Plus, along with all of the action and the robots, we get a full, completely developed character story arc with Charlie. And it may have felt a bit too on the nose by the end of the film, or a little bit paint by numbers, but it worked for me and I really enjoyed it. Truth be told, I actually liked both her and Bumblebee's story, and it felt like this is the perfect film to reboot the entire franchise. Bumblebee is playing at your local movie theater right now, and I am definitely recommending a big screen viewing of this film. This film has been out for a couple weeks, but I promise you it is still worth your time and money. The story is well developed and it's entertaining. The robot action sequences look great. Haley Steinfeld continues to shine as a very talented actor. Plus, that opening battle sequence that takes place on Cybertron is just one of those moments in films that needs to be seen on the biggest screen possible. There's well-placed humor and it delivers on the fun of the Transformers franchise that I think has been missing since the first Transformers movie back in 2007. So no promises, but this might actually be my favorite Transformers film so far to date. I really enjoyed most everything in this film, and I feel like they delivered on the story they wanted to tell, plus more. So because of that, Bumblebee will be getting all the high fives from this guy. Bumblebee is playing at your local movie theater right now. Definitely check this one out.